Wine world, cellar time, excellent. Woo, 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 woo. Hi, I'm Seth.
I'm Christine.
And I'm Rich, and welcome to week 6 of our Wine World Happy Hour series. We're at Cantiga Wineworks in Fairplay, California.
So we've been running a series, Ask the Winemaker, and we've had some interesting topic requests. One of the top requests we've gotten is to talk about our non-malolactic winemaking style. So we plan to do that today. You will hear the spiel. But first, spring has sprung in Fairplay. It's getting warm and beautiful out here. The vineyard's starting to leaf out. The flowers are starting to bloom in the garden. So we thought we'd take you on just a short walkabout and give you a glimpse into the beauty of the property. So shall we take a glass and go for a stroll?
We can do the stroll. So we're now drinking the 2016 Semyon. We're going to actually head out to the Semyon Vineyard because I think that has the most leaf on it right now. By the way, this is going to be in the next club shipment, so something to look forward to. We'll talk about it later. Thanks.
So this is the Semyon Block, and you can see the tender little leaves just pushing. Really a beautiful time of year.
One thing I love about the Semyon, I don't know if you can see this, and it's a little young. In about a week or two, we're going to see more of this as the leaf fills out. But Semyon has this kind of coppery, goldish copper fringe on the outside of the leaves. And it's something I love seeing every time we come out to the Semyon Vineyard.
So let's head over to the gardens next.
Sounds good. The candy tuft is in bloom, and there are the yellow irises, just gorgeous. And here we have the rock rose, and blackjack, of course. And there's some phlox, and of course our weeping cherry has been blooming for a while. It was one of the first things to bloom.
And one of my personal favorites, this is our lace leaf Japanese maple. Full bloom, looks like a bonsai. We didn't actually turn it into a bonsai, it did that itself. It's just gorgeous.
Sure happy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful tree. So, non-malolactic. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the spiel in the tasting room about non-malolactic wines, what we do. Probably more than you wanted to know, but I'll try to be a little more brief today. So the best way to explain non-malolactic is to start by explaining what malolactic is. So malolactic is actually called a secondary fermentation, and this would happen in a wine after a primary, where the yeast converts a sugar to the alcohol. Secondary fermentation would kick in as a bacterial fermentation, so it's not truly a fermentation, but it converts one form of acid to another. Malic acid is converted to lactic acid through this malolactic process. So what's being achieved here is a reduction in acidity, a softer mouthfeel, softer palate. It can have a different feeling than the original malic acid in the grape. So we're trying to go back to the older way of doing winemaking when the wines were kind of a cleaner, brighter style. So the malic acid gives us that.
So how is non-malolactic done? A lot of winemakers have actually said to us, you can't do non-malolactic wine. Malolactic fermentation can't be controlled. Well, we've been doing it for 20 years, so obviously it can be controlled. Seth, you want to talk a little bit about how we do it?
Yeah, sure. So I think most important for us is temperature control. We keep the winery at 55 degrees Fahrenheit year round, and that's very important. Malolactic likes a warm environment, and that's where it can really take off and be successful. So if we keep it at 55, it helps to keep malolactic at bay. We also avoid bringing in any cross-contamination, avoid bringing in malolactic into the winery. We have to be a little extra cautious on our cleaning regimen, so we do a little more of our sanitizing, which is always a good thing. Keeping the winery clean is most important for us as well. And I think that's probably the 3 biggest things for us to maintain non-ML. So a lot of people ask us why we go through such an effort to prevent malolactic fermentation in the winery.
So really the simple answer to that is we're really going for a brighter, cleaner style of winemaking. In France, wines were made as a food. So as a food, it's a stylistic goal to make a wine with the brighter acidity and the cleaner notes of the grape itself. So by doing non-malolactic, it allows us to really focus on the varietal characteristics of the grape. So also, we wouldn't blend, we don't do sugar, so you're really going to taste what's coming out of the vineyard. To us, that's really important. That's what a food wine would be.
So a non-malolactic wine just seems to naturally come into balance and is very compatible with food. Our main thing is we love pairing wine with food, and the non-malolactic style really lends itself to compatibility with food because of the acidity level.
And the extra benefit we get, which is always nice, is that our wines age, so we can cellar them with having that acidity in the wines. We can cellar them for quite a while and then come back and see how they've aged, enjoy them, and it really shows off the vineyards and the beautiful fruit that we get the fruit from.
And of course, longer aging wines require a lot of patience and more upfront capital, but it's really worth the benefit in the long run. So another benefit to this non-malolactic style of winemaking is one that we didn't initially anticipate, but we discovered it over the years. More and more customers started coming to us telling us that they could drink our wine whereas they couldn't drink other wines, and we started to wonder why and kind of explore that a little bit. Would you guys like to say anything about that?
Yeah, sure. One of the things we really believe in is retaining the acidity. So having that natural acidity, Mother Nature's acidity in the wine, having that balance really helps to aid digestion. Just like a lot of people like to do the apple cider vinegar every morning.
And then there's one other, and that's with the malolactic fermentation itself. So as the wines go through this fermentation, the malolactic process, tyramines can be formed. Tyramine is a form of a histamine, so this might manifest as a migraine, something a little more serious than, say, a sulfite headache or hangover. It can be pretty severe. It's tough to really know what the cause might be, but it's something we've been really looking at lately. A lot of our customers are coming back with these same problems and telling us the effects that they're having with the wines that they don't have with ours. So it's a nice thing to study, and it's something we're really watching closely.
So would you consider our wines to be natural wines?
Natural. Now that's a tough one. So natural wines, that's kind of a new buzzword, but we would rather stick with the old world focus. So we like to say our wines are more classic style. So the way they've been for centuries, you know, when wine was a food, when wine would age, you look at these old 50, 80-year-old wines coming out of France and they're still amazing. You know, that's old world to me. And so that's really what we're trying to achieve here.
Speaking of old wines able to age, should we kind of pull that into our mousing today? Maybe take a look at something, maybe pre-Cantiga, that might illustrate how well non-malolactic wines can actually age.
So just to let you know, pre-Cantiga would be back when my father and mother were making wines even before I was born. So we have history going back probably 60 years with this non-malolactic style. I don't think we have any 60-year-old wines. That would be fun, but we do have some fairly old things in my dad's cellar.
So why don't we pull something of your dad's, a golden oldie of your dad's, out of the cellar and maybe compare it with something similar and old but maybe a little newer from Cantiga?
Sounds good.
Sounds fun to me.
So shall we bring along Non-Malolacjack?
Come on, Non-Malolacjack, this way.
So what we've selected now are two wines. We were talking about doing one from my dad's cellar, which we decided on an old Chard, and then one from our cellar, which is also an old Chard. And just so happens we have Nicole here now joining us for this. She timed it perfectly.
How did she know?
I just, intuition, I guess.
So what are these wines, Christine? You want to tell everyone?
So on the topic of non-malolactic wines, we thought, what a great illustration of how a non-malolactic wine can age than to look at a white that isn't really supposed to age very long. This is a 1989 Chardonnay, barrel-aged Chardonnay from Bud Rorden's cellar. We thought we would pull out as a point of comparison our very first barrel-aged Chardonnay that we made with Cantiga. This is our 2000 vintage, our very first vintage. And very fitting to open this today because we are coming up very quickly on Cantiga's 20th anniversary. So this is going to be a really fun comparison. So let's start with the 89. How often does one get to try a white this old?
It's looking that beautiful color.
Yeah. And that's without sulfites, without malolactic.
Yeah, it smells amazing.
If this is oak aged, it's very light.
Yeah,
My
it's
dad
very
never
light.
did much. It was
Probably
always neutral
neutral,
barrel the way
yeah.
we did it. So we also pulled a barrel aged chard, but for us that doesn't mean it's oaky. You'll never taste oak in our wines. It just means it was aged in a barrel for complexity.
Really
Still
nice.
wonderful red acidity.
Yeah.
This does not taste like
There's a
that.
lot of
old wine.
stone fruit notes. It's
I'm
almost
getting
like a peach
apple.
apricot. Yeah, with that apple up front, but then like a peach apricot stone fruit on the back end.
Now this would have been our Ventana Vineyard, the same vineyard
Yeah,
source.
same vineyard source.
So we had a family relationship with Ventana Vineyard that way predated Cantiga Wineworks. So Bud first met Doug Meter back in the late 70s, I think.
Mid to
Or
late 70s,
mid to late
yeah.
70s.
So now that we tried the 31-year-old wine, we should try the baby here, the not even legal drinking age 20-year-old Chardonnay.
So same vineyard,
Same winemaking style.
100% oak, but all neutral oak. Pretty sure that's what my dad did, but not 100%.
That's some amazing lush apricot fruit.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, stone fruit comes out much more prominent on this one.
Than this one, yeah.
Oh, the mouthfeel that you get from the aged wine, it kind of lingers for a while, hangs out on the palate.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that's right. It's very deep and complex.
I think a slightly softer acidity year. We noticed that in the Shiraz as well that we got from Monterey. That softer acidity brings out more of that stone fruit, where the brighter acidity of, say, one of our oakless wines or even this 89 has that brighter tropical fruit flavors. So there is the difference, and it's not just all barrel. Sometimes it's vintage. So, at least to know.
Did we find a stash of these potentially for our anniversary?
Oh yes, so a few of our longtime club members may still have a bottle of two of these in the cellar, or other early vintages. And the other ones may be looking at this with some envy. We're just actually discussing auctioning off a few bottles of our early vintage Chardonnays as part of our evolving celebrations for our 20th anniversary. So stay tuned for that. Some exciting stuff coming up.
Very exciting.
Christine, what would you eat with a wine like this? Older and trying to balance it out?
Lobster.
It's not
Lobster
tasting
with
like an old
butter and
wine.
garlic.
It's a young wine with acid.
I feel like a while ago we had brown butter gnocchi with lobster, with garlic and sage that went really well.
That
with
sounds
Chardonnay.
familiar. That was something you made, right?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Was that crazy tapas night that we
Yes,
had?
yes,
Oh my
exactly.
goodness, yeah. Okay, well, that sounds fantastic. I would do that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we have some interesting things coming up. We're 2 weeks away from a wine club shipment. And just to give you a heads up, the next 3 episodes of Wine World are going to actually be focusing on the 3 different shipment wines. We're going to do a special 3-episode run of wine and food pairings. So we're going to have specific pairing lessons for each of the wines in the shipment. So that's going to be really fun.
And New Barbera included?
New Barbera is coming up. Yes, we're excited about that one.
Very exciting.
And our estate Semyon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then our brand new sneak preview of our new Grenache. So that is coming up soon. For now, we will wish everybody all the best and hope that you're staying healthy and well. And join us again next week on Wine World.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.